If you have struggled with being fired or let go in jobs in the past, or being rejected when you're applying, or you have your own business maybe, but past mistakes have influenced the way you see yourself, and maybe you feel failure, you feel rejected, you feel like you're not good enough, this is going to support you, okay? I recently got asked this question by one of the women inside my monthly membership, and it brought up a reflection of things I have personally experienced and struggled with, as well as a topic that has come up with many different women I've worked with privately over the years, in regards to the ways that they were still holding on to what they saw as failure. So I want to dive into this a little bit, but first things first, this is also a really powerful quantum healing hypnosis activation that I have just uploaded inside my monthly membership. So there's more information in the description below. I'll get into that at the end of this as well. But if you want more support, that is a beautiful, beautiful place to start. Okay. So in our experience and in our human reality, where career is such a powerful, such an important part of our life and our identity, right? I don't know about you, but I know I have always kind of identified with the job that I had, because I just feel like that's how society has taught us to see ourselves, right? It's like, oh, you're this thing. And it's based on your education level, your schooling, and then your hierarchy in the career. And we have all these boxes and labels to put ourselves in. And then what happens if you get let go, or you're fired, or that job no longer works, or you make a big mistake there, right? It can be so intense and so heavy on our ego, as well as our subconscious and our energetic field. So I was reflecting on a woman I worked with a few years back. And at this point in time, she was starting her own online business and doing social media management. And she had tons of experience from previous jobs, but she had multiple things playing out that were deeply impacting her confidence. The first thing was that she had been fired from her last kind of corporate job. And so she had this really heavy energy of shame and feeling like she wasn't good enough. And this was weighing down on her regarding how she saw herself and her capabilities and her worthiness, right? It played such a big role. And then the second thing was that she had done a few kind of practice clients and like exchanges in her social media management business. But there was one of the clients who she had done a bunch of work for, and the person was not satisfied and had some comments at the end of not being happy with what was provided, and that crushed her again, right? Now, regardless of your gender, I'm just going to speak to women because that is typically who I work with the most. And for women especially, I do feel like we have a tendency to take everything very personally, to the point and we feel things very deeply if we allow ourselves to the point that I'm crying thinking about this, because it weighs such, it creates such a heavy weight on how you see yourself. And if you're a gentleman watching this, then I know you can feel this too. I know you're not a stranger. You're a beautiful human being with beautiful emotions as well. And it can be a lot, right? I think women have an easier ability to fall into the pain and allow ourselves to sit there, whereas men maybe have a better ability to just push forward and go, and try to act like it wasn't a big deal, but not getting into a big gender discussion right now. Regardless, we all feel it, and there's nothing worse than feeling like you're a failure, feeling like you're not good enough for the world, right? So at the beginning of this hypnosis I just made, I share a personal story, and I'm going to share it here too, with regards to the level of rejection I felt when I started applying for a bunch of jobs. I had done my second kind of mini gap year thing. I had come back to Canada. I had no money, and I was trying to get a job working with animals because I have tons of experience and tons of passion in that. I handed out so many resumes. I had multiple job interviews, all these things that I was freaking overqualified for. Like, I remember thinking how I like it was way beyond the job tasks that I was applying for, but I just needed and wanted something. And the level of rejection and pain I felt when I didn't get hired, like, crushed me. It absolutely crushed me. And it created or added to beliefs I already had about not being good enough and not being seen or not being valuable. Okay, so that was my personal experience. Now, the woman whose story I just shared, for her, it was more a feeling of failure, of not trusting herself to succeed because she thought, well, I failed at the job. Now I failed with this client. Obviously, the work I'm putting out there isn't good enough. That's the story her subconscious had created. So as you're listening to this, just like reflection time, I really invite you to look at what story you might have created from your past experiences in this. So if you were fired from a job, what did you make that mean about yourself? Was it that you weren't good enough? Was it like, oh, I'm lazy and I'm this and I'm that? Was it a story that maybe one of your parents had thrown at you in their anger when you were a child, and now this job experience almost reaffirmed it to you, right? It could look a million different ways, but the important thing to note is that it's not the ultimate truth. So when I was getting rejected from all these different jobs, my ego and my human and my emotional side took it very personally, but my kind of higher self awareness at the time was like, Kara, you weren't meant for those jobs. And if you had gotten hired at one of them, you would have been miserable, and it would have stopped you from what you were meant to do, which was to actually start pursuing your own coaching business and starting this, right? I couldn't see that at the time. Of course, it hurt me, right? And this is where the awareness of that higher level picture is so important. So you could spend your whole life thinking that being fired from a job means that you're shitty and that you're not worthy and that you're this or that or whatever. But maybe that job was not meant for you, and maybe it was the universe ejecting you from a timeline. Maybe it was because it was actually divine protection because things were going to escalate even worse, or something was going to happen with a coworker. Who knows, right? Maybe it was aligning you with the exact person you were meant to meet to open up another door. We really don't know that from our limited 3D human selves and from our limited viewpoint. But when we do things such as quantum healing and the expansion, where we're out of the body and we're starting to see the bigger picture, it becomes a lot easier to notice, like, oh, okay, actually this supported my highest good. Maybe it wasn't that I was a failure. Maybe I wasn't the best at that task, and maybe I could have done better, and I can acknowledge that, but I don't need to hold the shame, and I don't need to think that now I'm useless and allow that to dictate the next 20 years of my life. Right? There's so many different what ifs that we can find. And for me personally, that's why I love doing the work that I do on the subconscious and on the energy body, because when we can expand outwards and get that higher self wisdom, it's true freedom. It's the ability to go, oh yeah, I can actually create a completely new story that will empower me moving forward. So this is what I have created for you. If it's something you have struggled with, if you feel like you're still holding on to shame or guilt or regret or embarrassment or failure or unworthiness, I literally just listed off like the heaviest emotions we can hold, right? If you're holding that, it's no wonder you are struggling to feel good. And that's a big assumption from me, but it's just like those are very heavy things to be holding on to, and you don't have to keep holding them, right? And when we're holding these things, then they influence how we show up moving forward, which is why if someone has been fired from multiple jobs, and then that creates a story of who they think they are or what they think they're capable of, oftentimes you'll see that that pattern repeats. And now it happens again, unless they do the work to shift the beliefs and shift the identity and release the heavy emotions and energy from their field. So this is everything that I have just created and I guide you through inside my latest quantum healing hypnosis activation. Okay, it's all about going back and doing what I call is a timeline repair, going back to the past memory where the pain was experienced and that emotional charge was created. We're clearing that out, releasing it. We're shifting the way you see yourself and the story you're telling yourself moving forward. We're connecting into the confident, ideal, present, and future version of you. And like, how do they hold themselves? What do they think? How are they showing up in the world, right? What are they bringing forward? Because it's in the clearing out of the old and the calling in and embodying of the new that you're now able to show up completely different for your job, for your interviews, for your own business, okay? So this activation covers all of that. And if you are self-employed and you have clients, so you maybe have a product or service that you sell, if you do coaching or healing work like me, and there's this fear of rejection, or am I going to be canceled, or if I'm not good enough, and what that's going to mean, that failure, or any of those stories, this activation helps you clear that out and align to the most empowered version of you. So there are two different ways to get this activation. Both are linked in the description below. The first option is to get the activation completely by itself. There's a little mini training, the hypnosis, and the energy healing there. That is $55.55, and you get lifetime access once you purchase it. The other option is to join myself and the other members of our community inside the monthly membership, where you get this activation as well as all past activations that I've done and any future ones as long as you are part of the membership. And that is $33.33 per month. Inside the membership, you also get a monthly coaching call with me and the other members. So it's a group call where I can support you with whatever is going on. And I am dropping daily messages in there to support and motivate and empower you with all that you're doing. So it's an amazing place to stay connected. And if you're wanting some kind of daily support to keep you on track, then I highly recommend jumping inside the membership as that option, okay? As I said, both are linked below, and this is going to be so powerful for you so that you can clear out any of those energies, like anything that is not serving you, where you want to go or how you want to show up. This is going to help with that. So I can't wait to see you on the inside. I'm sending you so much love and support, and I just want you to know how special you are no matter what's happened in your career experiences in the past. And when we can release the heavy charge and the really deeply rooted beliefs, those things don't have to be part of your signature anymore. They don't have to be part of your identity. So this is really powerful at getting to the deeper root cause and clearing that out so you can be set free. So I will see you soon. I'm sending lots of love.